If you're planning to travel to Italy this year, take a moment before you land in Rome without internet or end up paying a fortune in roaming fees. Italy has a particular quirk that almost nobody tells you about. By law, buying a physical SIM card requires you to hand over your passport and register. Before I talk to you about brands, prices, and plans, let me explain exactly what an eSIM is, because a lot of people are still intimidated by the word, but honestly, it's much simpler than it sounds. An eSIM is basically a digital SIM card. Instead of inserting a physical card into your phone, you just download the plan directly to your device, and that's it. You don't have to go to a store, you don't have to wait in line, you don't have to swap out your usual SIM card for a new one and hope you don't lose it. You buy it from home a week before your trip, and it activates automatically when you land in Italy. And here's the Italian detail that almost nobody tells you about, and that would have saved me a headache the first time. In Italy, by law, buying a physical SIM card requires the seller to register you with your passport. That's right, just like that. You arrive tired at Fiumicino or Malpensa airport, you see the line at the TIM or Vodafone kiosk, and when it's finally your turn, the employee asks for your passport, scans it, has you sign papers in Italian, all while the line behind you keeps getting longer. With an eSIM, you skip that whole process. You buy it before you even leave home, arrive in Rome or Milan, and you already have data before you get off the plane. Now let's talk about what goes on behind the scenes. In Italy, there are 4 main mobile networks, and it's worth knowing them because any eSIM you buy will be using one of these 4. And now comes the question you're probably asking yourself. If all eSIMs connect to the same Italian networks, why is there such a big price difference between brands? Because the first option I'm going to show you is, in my opinion, the best value for money on the market right now. Let's go with the first option, and honestly, this is the one I would recommend in most cases. It's called Sally, and even though you might not be as familiar with it as with other, more well-known brands, you should have it on your radar for a very specific reason. It was created by the team behind NordVPN. Yeah, the same people who make one of the most widely used VPNs in the world decided to get into the eSIM business. And that's why this brand has some features that others don't. Let's start with the most important thing, which is the actual prices for Italy. The cheapest plan costs you $3.99 for 1 gigabyte and 7 days of validity. The 3 gigabyte plan, which is probably the sweet spot for a typical week-long trip, costs $8.99. And from there, you have options up to 20 gigabytes, and even plans labeled as unlimited. Oh, and here's something I need to clarify, because this is where a lot of travelers fall for marketing tricks. When you see the word unlimited, it's only natural to think you'll be able to watch Netflix 12 hours a day, all week long, without any restrictions. The reality is different. Sally's unlimited plan, in practice, gives you 5 gigabytes per day at full speed. After those 5 gigabytes, your internet doesn't get cut off. You can keep browsing, but the speed drops to about 1 megabit per second. That's enough for WhatsApp, maps, emails, and checking social media without any trouble. But if you were planning to watch YouTube in 4K all afternoon, now you know what to expect. I'm telling you straight up, because I'd rather you come in with real expectations than be surprised later. Now, why pay for Sally if you can find cheaper options online? This is where my favorite thing about this brand comes in, and it's what you get included without paying a single extra cent. You have an ad and tracker blocker built right into the app, which not only cleans up your browser, but also saves you data, because ads use up data even if you don't notice. You have a virtual location tool similar to a lightweight VPN that lets you change your digital location when you're connected to hotel or cafe Wi-Fi in Italy, and you also get web protection that warns you if you click on a suspicious link. Another detail I think is worth mentioning is that Sally notifies you when you've used 80% of your plan. It might sound silly, but I swear that when you're traveling and lost in the little streets of Florence and suddenly Google Maps stops loading because your plan ran out without warning, that little notification becomes pure gold. So who is it ideal for? If your trip to Italy is from 3 days to 2 weeks, if you're going to use your phone for maps, translations, social media, and the occasional WhatsApp call, Sally will cost you less per gigabyte than the competition, and on top of that, it gives you security tools you didn't even ask for. It's the option I would choose if it were my first trip to Italy and I didn't want to complicate my life. But before you go running off to buy it, let me show you the other side of the coin, because there's a very specific scenario where the other option I'm bringing you today actually wins, and it wins by a lot. And now we've come to the other option I promised you. And you probably already know about it, or at least have heard it mentioned. It's called Airalo, and it's basically the brand that made travel eSIMs popular worldwide. When someone searches for eSIM for the first time on Google, almost always the first name that pops up is this one. And that's no coincidence. They have plans in more than 200 countries, a polished app, and a system that millions of travelers have already tried. For Italy, they have a specific plan called Mamma Mia. And honestly, I find the name charming because it captures that cultural nod that connects with anyone planning to visit the country. Let's get to the numbers, which is what really matters. The most basic plan gives you a 1 gig for 7 days at $4.50. From there, you move up to 2 gigs for 15 days at $8. Then you have 3 gigs for 30 days at $10, 5 gigs for the same month at $14.50, 10 gigs at $24, and 20 gigs for $33. If you do the quick math, you'll see that the price per gig is slightly higher than with Saily, but there are specific reasons why this might be worth it for you. But like I said at the beginning of the video, my job here is to be honest, so I'm also going to tell you about the downsides I see. The first is the price per gig, which, as you already saw, is slightly higher than Saily's. The second is that Airalo doesn't include any security extras. No ad blocker, no web protection, no virtual location. It's a classic eSIM, plain and simple. It does what it's supposed to do and nothing more. And the third is something I've seen in several reviews from real users. When one of the Italian networks gets overloaded, sometimes the eSIM gets stuck on a slow connection, and you have to manually force your phone to switch networks. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a detail worth mentioning. So when should you choose Airalo over Saily? I'd sum it up like this. If your trip includes several European countries, if you need a lot of backup coverage because you're going to heavily touristed areas, or if you simply trust a big, well-known brand and would rather not experiment with new names, Airalo is a super safe bet. On the other hand, if your trip is only to Italy and you want to pay as little as possible while also boosting your digital security, Saily is the better choice for you. My honest and straightforward recommendation, if you're going to Italy for anywhere between 3 days and 2 weeks, and you only need data for Google Maps, WhatsApp, and social media, Saily will be cheaper per gigabyte and gives you extra security at no additional cost. If your trip includes several European countries, or you're someone who already trusts Airalo completely, their Mamma Mia plan or the Eurolink are both safe bets. And that's it.